everyone, and a very good afternoon. We are elated to commence another captivating session on connecting the dots. First and foremost, we extend our gratitude to our esteemed speakers for their participation in this panel discussion. Ms. Khushbu Bhausar, Director HR at Measure One India, Ms. Purnima Srinivasan, Vice President HR at Tastwagran Technologies, Ms. Vandana Teji, founder and CEO at the Unicorn People, and Ms. Shivani Malhotra, partner and MD at Positive Vibe Consulting. A warm welcome to all. The POSH Act 2013 was enacted to protect women from sexual harassment in professional settings. However, to address the evolving nature of workplaces and promote inclusivity, there is a growing need to expand its scope. Expanding the POSH Act scope to be more inclusive and adaptive to modern work environment is crucial for fostering safe and equitable workplaces for all individuals. On this International Women's Week, our esteemed panelists will be sharing their views on this insightful topic, expanding the scope of POSH Act. HRA welcomes you all on the session Connecting the Dots. To know more about HRA and its events, I would request all our participants to visit the link and details posted in the chat window. I now take the privilege to introduce our moderator for the session, Ms. Shivani Malhotra, partner and MD at Positive Vibes Consulting. Shivani Malhotra is an award-winning HR and learning specialist with over 20 years of experience in senior HR roles across Indian and multinational companies. A Business World 40 Under 40 awardee, she has already received numerous awards for her contribution in the field of HR, learning, and OD. An MBA from Symbiosis Center of Management and HRD, Shivani founded Positive Vibes Consulting in 2016, specializing in HR strategy, leadership development, and organizational design. Renowned as an HR thought leader, leadership coach, and people strategy expert, Shivani's dedication to excellence has positioned her as a trusted mentor, guiding professionals, teams, and organizations to achieve sustainable growth and success. Shivani is also empaneled as a mentor of change with Niti Aayog, Government of India. You can follow her on LinkedIn. The link for the same has been shared in the chat window. Without wasting much time, I hand over the platform to Shivani. Over to you.
Thank you, Faisal. Thank you, Team HRAI. It's indeed a wonderful way to welcome the Women's Day. It's a very, very powerful topic to be discussing just, 2 days before Women's Day. And it is my absolute honor and privilege to be here today. Faisal, as you said, the POSH Act was enacted in 2013. And while it has played a very crucial role, in shaping safer and more inclusive workspaces across India, but as the workspaces or as the workplaces evolve, which means embracing hybrid models, gig work, digital collaborations, it has become imperative to sort of reassess and expand the scope of this landmark legislation. And that's what we are going to delve deeper into today. And to do that, we have an exceptional panel with us, bringing diverse perspectives from various industries. Their insights will help us understand both the challenges as well as the opportunities in broadening this important law. So it is my pleasure to introduce our panelists. Our first panelist is Purnima Srinivasan. Purnima is a distinguished HR leader with more than 20 years of experience in the industry. Celebrated as a champion for people, she excels in cultivating high performance teams while emphasizing employee wellness and creating a people centric workplace. Her efforts in promoting equity within the workplace significantly contribute to both the individual and organizational success. Welcome, Purnima. It's a pleasure to be here with you today.
Thank you.
Our second panelist is Vandana Teji. Vandana is an HR professional turned entrepreneur. She is a heart-led leader who specializes in HR transformation and automation projects. Her firm, The Unicorn, is an all-women firm with team members from various walks of life. And together, the team services clients across India, US, UK, and Canada, Middle East, and Africa. She's actively working in the field of women rights and child education and is associated with reputed NGOs at state and national level. Welcome, Vandana. It's great to be with you here today. Our third panelist is Khushbu. Khushbu Bhavsar is a strategic HR leader with 18 years of rich experience driving business growth, scalability, and organizational transformation. As the director of HR at Measure One India, she has played a key role in aligning people strategy with business objectives, scaling operations, and enhancing engagement. She's a certified expert in NLP, psychometric assessments, and change management, and also holds a management degree from Nirma University. Recognized as the People Manager of the Year in the year 2023 by HRAI, she's committed to building high performance cultures and positioning HR as a key business driver. Welcome, Khushbu. It's great to be with you on this panel today. Uh, for our audience, I encourage you all to engage in this conversation. It's a very important topic. It's a very interesting topic. Lots of questions. Share your experience and take away actionable insights. So, with that, let's get the ball rolling. Let's get started. So, my first question is to you, Vandana. So we all know that the POSH Act is primarily for women, the safety of women at workplace, and that's how, if you read the act, it's everywhere the word woman is used, aggrieved woman, and different terms are used with respect to women, which means that it is currently focusing on safety of workplace at women. So my question to you is that how can the POSH Act be modified to better protect men, non-binary individuals, the LGBTQ plus community, while ensuring a gender-neutral language?
So, hello everybody, and hello to the I'm so happy to be here today. And as I was telling during our first round of discussion, this is extremely important topic to be discussed because POSH Act came into picture after struggling in the parliaments for a very long time. Okay, and it was only after a lot of hue and cry when the POSH Act was finally released, and we finally have an act to protect and create safe workplace. Now, talking about safe workplace, when a workplace is defined, not one gender can define a workplace. Just protecting one gender just makes it incomplete and biased. Okay, and while we take a lot of sessions during the yeah, with the employees, and we try to create internally gender neutral policies, and which are adopted by a lot of organizations today. However, the need of the hour is to come up with the act which is inclusive for all the genders, because I think that's a bare minimum. A lot of progressive countries like Canada has already adopted the safe workplace policy for all its employees, and is actually around about, the thing is that whether you're a woman, man, or you belong to the LGBTQIA plus community. Okay, a safe workplace is the bare minimum. In fact, if you look at the data, okay, around 70% of LGBTQIA plus employees have to go through harassment on a very in a very like it's a day-to-day way of life for them, and that the need of the hour is to create something which is supportive. However, a recent case in 2023 was dismissed by our juries, stating that the act has been created specifically for women. And yes, protecting women is important, but I think the best way to get the other genders included is by public petition. Public petition is the one way through which our people sitting in the in the bureaucracy will get to know that it is not just one person who is walking up to the court. It is actually the citizens of India who are demanding for a workplace which is safe and is not just protecting one gender, but it is protecting all of its employees from something as I think it's a harassment episode with anybody leaves a mark on that person's mental health forever.
Very true.
And I think public petition is the answer. Sorry, I took a little extra time.
Sure, Vandana, those are very pertinent views, but I'd love to know what the other panelists also think on this topic. So, Kushbu, what is your take on this?
Sure. So thank you for the question, Shivani. As a women, we have long advocated equality for many years. So in today's equitable world, I believe workplace protection laws should keep on evolving to safeguard all individuals from harassment. And hence, in current scenario, it is true that the POSH Act in India as of now only protects female and one gender. To make it say gender neutral, we should explicitly include all gender. How we can do that? First and foremost, we definitely have to expand the definition of workplace and make it explicit mention of all genders, make it man, women, non-binary or LGBTQ, and making them a gender neutral by defining the say the subject of that particular say law language. uh, by adopting a gender neutral language and inclusive including more provisions, these can be made more we can say gender neutral. That's what I can say.
Great. Thank you, Kushbu. It's very interesting to see that this panel has four women, but I'm sure I'm yet to go to Purnima, but I'm sure Purnima is also going to advocate that we should have a gender neutral policy. Yes, Purnima, over to you. Would love to hear your thoughts.
Thank you, Shivani, and good evening to everyone who is present here and the panel. So I agree with Vandana and also with Kushbu that we need to have, inclusive policy. But I think more than anything, for me, what comes to my mind is acceptance. So it took this long for the entire nation, the world, the organization to accept saying, okay, women are also equal. I think they should not be taking the same amount of time to accept the other binary or LGBTQ community. So creating a respectful and acknowledging saying, yes, you are also a part of us. You also belong to us. And it's a culture, it's an attitude, I feel, saying that, the entire nation should start accepting it. And this also should be a part of the workplace. So once, giving them what they want, calling them with the pronouns they prefer, understanding their point of view, as small as not kind of dismissing their views. I think these are the things which is required for us. And for me, if I see from, a corporate or a workplace, I think even if, as you were mentioning that, POSH is more preferred to women employees, I think even the trainings also belong there. The training starts with, okay, once a woman gets harassed, so there are multiple, places where they can kind of, men also get harassed. There are a lot of cases, but nobody acknowledges it. So they feel it is, the stereotype has to be broken, and there has to be an inclusive training program that is done. And, comprehensive programs like self-defense or whatever. POSH should not be only a Women's Day activity anymore. It should be an attitude and culture where everybody is involved everywhere. Okay, so I feel these are the things that needs to be inclusive. And I think the main thing is, sensitizing the ICC committee of every organization. I think that is more important, where they also acknowledge saying, okay, others also can be harassed. It should not be that, okay, if there is a complaint from women, everybody jumps and takes action. But if there is a complaint from men, people would not, right? I think everybody experiences it. Whenever a man comes saying, I've been harassed, there was a recent incident also, right? In a train, a man got harassed and people are laughing at it, saying it's just a joke. I think that should change. Once we change that and accept this, I think everything else will eventually follow. So that is my
Absolutely. Thank you, Purnima. Those again were very good points, especially the part around sensitizing the ICC. I would, in fact, go one step ahead and say that maybe there should be a diverse representation in the ICC also. Where it is mandated to include members. There is, of course, there is a representation of males there, and there are females, but why not the LGBTQ plus community or gender neutral experts? So that we ensure that there are fair hearings. And I also agree that, I mean, we all know that if you read the Bare Act, if you read the act, it is all about, sexual harassment at workplace for women. It's a reality. But what I have seen is, in my company, in Positive Vibes, we do draft POSH policies for companies. But so what I have seen is, as a growing trend, corporates are no longer doing it just for women. I think today probably 80 to 85% of corporates would have a gender neutral policy, which is great. But I think that's a choice. That they have, and hence being a good employer, they choose to exercise it. But I think what all of us probably agree with is that there is an amendment, obviously, that is required in this law to make it more inclusive, not just to women, not even to just men, but also the wider community, to make it more inclusive. So I'll, go one step ahead and around that question, ask something very pertinent. Again, Khushbu, to you. So, should the POSH Act, you think, should extend beyond the traditional workplaces to include gig workers, freelancers, domestic workers, online workplaces? And if yes, then what challenges do you think that in today's time unorganized sectors face in implementing the POSH Act? We all know, we all work in corporates. We know there is a very clear, set, structured policy. And if a case comes, we know what we have to do. But what about the unorganized sector? And probably that sector would have the maximum percentage of workforce in India today. And it is uncovered by POSH. So, would love to know your views on that.
Yeah, thanks for say prompting that once again. Once again, we said earlier, the first step starts from acknowledging and accepting the need and accepting the fact that okay, there is a requirement, and I think at least now we have moved past that stage. So we now are talking about it. We are now sensitive. The topic has been say executed pretty well. Now once moving back to the other workplaces or the other say part of the beyond traditional workplaces, okay, what I can say, it is important to recognize that POSH is not just an HR policy where it can only be executed by just the HR professional. I can say that POSH is a part of the statutory compliance, and that is the reason it is a shared responsibility of the organization. Yes, it is true that HR plays a key role in executing and enforcing such law to create safe and inclusive work environment for the larger audience. But in order to execute and make it more effective and safe, there is a dedicated efforts required from employers, leaders, and all stakeholders. Expanding the law scope would ensure better protection for, say, larger audience. It brings the greater coverage and individuals in evolving work model and fosters a more inclusive and harass-free professional landscape. That's I can say. So I do support that there is a requirement beyond a traditional workplace. We really need to include more gig workers, freelancer, online spaces, and non-traditional work setup.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you, Kushbu. Great to hear your views. Purnima, what do you have to say to that?
I mean, definitely, I think POSH should include everybody who is associated with, the organization. So just to give you an example, I was working with an interior designing company some time back, and if you see there, right, you have a lot of blue collar workers like carpenters and all of these people. So we used to make it a point that the third party who's working with us, right, they also sign a POSH Act saying, okay, this has been, so it was extended beyond the organization to even the third party vendors. So this used to kind of We never had any cases as such, except within the company from the external company. However, uh, this gives a notion to them saying, okay, we take POSH seriously. I think for organization, it's very important to have this contractual agreements in place, because anybody who is working for the company is very important. So that is what we can do from an organization point of view. But like you said, unorganized sectors, I think the first thing is there is a lack of awareness. I don't know how many of them know there is something called POSH. And there is a
Yeah.
social stigma saying, oh my God, can I actually tell this? And there is so much power play. They think their supervisors are God. I mean, whatever.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
and no matter how much you try to sensitize them, they are scared. They are scared to come out. They are scared to talk about it. I think this is something that we need to break. And this is, once we kind of give them the confidence, saying this is what it is. It's every HR's responsibility on their shoulders, saying, okay, even the unorganized sectors need to do this. I mean, need to bring this into place. So that is my opinion.
Great. Purnima, the point that you made around lack of awareness, I totally agree with that, because we are talking about, there is a law, there is amendment needed in that law, but in the unorganized sector, I would say hardly anybody knows that there is a law that exists. If you, in case you are harassed by people, and it's also great to know the step that your organization took in terms of that's a good suggestion, and it's for the benefit of other organizations, that you can mandate it for your third party vendors to have POSH awareness with their employees. So that's a good one. Moving on to Vandana, what do you have to say to this?
I like to divide this into two portions. One is emotional and another is practical. Okay. When you talk about gig means a person working out of their own houses. Gig means a person using their own vehicle. Gig means a person who is like a vendor or a contractor to the organization, may be employed for just one project and then may not work for any other project. Okay. Like a recruitment consultant for that matter. Okay. Now, while emotionally, yes, the need of the hour is to include. In fact, if you look at the current definition of the POSH Act, wherein it says that it also covers the visitors and anybody who comes under the roof of that organization or the company is and a woman is covered by the act. Okay. However, and anybody who is traveling for the purpose of work in can also, that place like a hotel or a training room, wherever, conference is also included as a place of work. Okay. However, from an implementation perspective, it is a big challenge. While one of the very important point that Purnima did mention regarding audits, like major organizations have now included it in their vendor audits. Like, when you're doing vendor audits, you check if the vendor is compliant, if they're doing awareness trainings, and they're doing the other things. However, now look at, you were talking about blue collar. Look at the Uber employees, Uber or these cab drivers. Okay. Now there's so many cases that are happening on a daily basis, and is a big problem for companies like Zomato, who Swiggy, and the Uber drivers, basically, who are in this e-commerce base, and they are working with a lot of freelancers. Reason being, when you investigate a case, you need proof. Sitting in office and taking up one office premise case itself, you will have hard time finding evidence. There are so many times, as an IC person, as an external member, I have seen that there are scenarios which we know, like, but we don't have any hardcore proof to substantiate the entire claim. As a result, a lot is left on interpretation. There is a lot of pressure. In fact, UK and India both have made it binding to organizations who are hiring freelancers to conduct awareness trainings for their own freelancers. While, because these are not companies. You can do vendor audits for companies which have more than people. But if you have small freelancers, you can't term them as a company who will do all the 9 yards, because eligibility is 10 employees plus. And even if there is one employee working, how we will audit? So all those questions. So while emotionally, I definitely feel that the gig employers, everybody should be covered, but then how we will cover them is a bigger discussion.
Sure. Superb. I think, when the POSH Act came out in 2013, we had not heard of things like gig working, all of this hybrid working, all of this came after, probably after COVID, and as the workspaces have
COVID
changed.
was
Yeah,
COVID. I just
yeah,
wanted to add, like, COVID was a scenario wherein we face so many questions, how to
yeah.
sort issues. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and it was never anticipated that the workplace would turn virtual or online, and hence there are no provisions on that. So I think one point we all agree on is that, of course, the law needs amendment in this respect as well. More than that, I think even when that till the time that happens, I think it's also important to if we can't have ICCs or within an internal sort of committees looking after employees who are not on our roles, like the gig workers, freelancers, unorganized sector employees, there can obviously be some external redressal bodies, like what we call as the LCCs, the local
LCC.
complaint committees, to handle cases from non-traditional workplaces. But again, they exist also today, but I think there is a lack of awareness. A lot of people don't know in the unorganized sector that if you don't have an ICC, there is also an LCC that you can go to outside. So I think and I'd also like to add, organizations. Like I've been a part of Wiki HR Council, and this was one of the projects that we took up to educate, people working in the slum areas about this kind of work. People working as maids, as house helpers, educating them about this law, that there is a law in case something like this happens. There is a law which is there to protect you, and I think some NGOs also are doing some work around this. But again, the portion is very minuscule. We are talking about probably just 0.1% of people doing this. So there is definitely a need to increase that coverage. I agree. Now, we talked about. The workplaces being virtual. So, question to you, Purnima: should social media interactions, between colleagues, be covered under the POSH Act? Because with work, becoming hybrid, how do we define workplace harassment in virtual spaces? Because there is no such definition in the POSH Act right now.
Yeah, there is no definition, but I think it's need of the hour to add
Yeah,
this. I think once we moved once the pandemic was here and we all moved virtually, I think this has become a biggest place of harassment. Like
yeah,
Vandana was mentioning, right? Pointing out, saying what is harassment, getting proof has become a very big challenge because, like you mentioned, going by the policy, there is nothing that we have for virtual work places,
yeah,
and it is at the discretion of the ICC committee with a lot of deliberation saying what do you consider as harassment and what do you consider as not harassment. But I think this is definitely we have to kind of include this. We need to have some clear and comprehensive policies on what is the accepted behavior online. And if you're talking about social media, right, it is a very tricky part saying that what are they discussing. I mean, if they are discussing off work related topics which is not related with, which has nothing to do with work, and they're
mm,
doing it during non-work hours, how do you even track it? I mean, there's a lot of
yeah,
privacy issues here also, right? Now, if somebody says somebody texted on Insta or somebody texted from Facebook, I mean, how would you go track it? It's a huge challenge. Now, if you have something called Slack, basically, it is a virtual connect for workplace, which is used for workplace. You have Hangout on Google. So here are things when our IT team also can help us in retrieving chats, even if it is deleted, which is also a challenge. It is not easy. But with encrypted messages in WhatsApp and all of these things, I think I'm not sure even if the police department will be able to help you to get the charts. So there is a very big practical challenge in this, Shivani, to have, honest. Now, I think after Vandana told about the practicality of implementing all of these things, saying that it is a very big challenge. But
yeah,
so we can kind of what organization can do is, put a guideline on how you should behave online, how you should be talking, what are, I mean, give them awareness trainings and,
yeah,
have a thorough investigation procedures saying if this is the case, or even if somebody is raising a complaint, right, what are the things that they should be presenting? I mean,
Yeah.
if it is an online bullying or cyber bullying, or I mean anything on social media, it is a two-way connect or two-way messages, right? So the reason I'm saying this is we had a case like this where a girl came and she raised a complaint saying there's a guy keeps stalking her on the social media, her team member. I mean, how do you check stalking? They visit the profile and it is gone. And then she's like, there were exchange of messages, but I deleted them. So it is like the intention was wrong at that. I mean, like this happened like a month back, and why was it
Hmm.
not kind of informed at that time? That time it was fine. Now it is becoming more of stalking and bullying. So help me.
Hmm.
I mean, how do you even do that? How do you investigate it or put it even in a sexual harassment case? So these are the challenges that you have in a virtual workplace. I think even if you're bringing it in the act, it has to be very clear and concise, saying what is considered, what is not, and that will help a lot for HR leaders like us. That is what
Sure.
I would say.
Sure, Purnima.
Yeah.
In fact, that's a very different perspective in terms of like you and Vandana mentioned. How do we get the proof? I would like to sort of bring a different perspective here, and that is from experience of a latest case. So I'm on the IC of one of the organizations, and there was a case, a very similar case of social stalking, and somebody writing messages. Now, while if the person has not been able to save, then you don't know, where's the digital footprint. But in this case, the lady had all the proofs with her, so it became very easy for us to give a very thought through judgment in terms of because the proof was right there. So I think it's a two-way thing here. With social media, it's easier to probably take proofs if the person is more vigilant. Even on LinkedIn, if you have a premium membership, you can see, and this is exactly what she did. She showed us that, see, these are the number of times this person has visited my profile for what. So I think it's a two-way street here in terms of social media. But would definitely like to know, Khushbu, you're in the HR space, you're heading HR for a company. What is your experience on these kind of cases?
Absolutely. So this is two things, and probably everyone acknowledge that the stronger execution and subjectivity. Okay, that will remain as one of the key point to discuss, and we things we look forward for new way to resolve, and how what kind of new say inputs we are receiving from the larger population or experts like you. While I do that, I can also bring some light on the kind of organization which I had. We being a niche product, SaaS-based IT product company, my organization is an exact example of an hybrid workplace. Okay, I made sure that because we have flourished during COVID time, I made sure we hire pan India. Some of them are hybrid, some of them are remote, and fortunately we have not say encountered any such complaints or bullying and all of like that. Having said that, I can say only one thing in the context of my own organization. What I did is, from day one I made them responsible. Okay, wherein I did sensitize, I mean I do sensitizing training all year, even if it is repetitive and all of that. I made sure they know we have such thing in place, number one, uh, to bring that awareness. That does not mean that they will, someone will do that, or someone will not do that, that we are unsure at this point in time. But we made sure that we this is a part of the culture of ownership what we have at our company. Okay, so they are responsible for their own action, and they should know that we are, POSH is also part of my culture, not just a policy. Like I said, it's a shared responsibility. We can only execute and prevent, but they are responsible to demonstrate on the front face, to make sure, say even say safe and hybrid work environment beyond the work level. Okay, So we use official communication channels, Slack, Google Meet, Zoom, team meetings, and all of that. We also make sure we foster and remind that hybrid work environment whenever we are going for a team outing, official gathering, or any lunches, or any sort of virtual interaction. So including formal, informal work related chats, virtual breaks are part of it, and that is how I think I took care of it. Having said that, this is not something, the end of the say policy and all of that. Things will keep on evolving, and I will be always eager to know contributions from the say industry experts. How do they deal with that?
That's really nice, Khushbu. I think the point that I really liked is around making it a part of the culture, and sharing the accountability, that it is not one department's responsibility, but actually all of us own it up. So that's a great takeaway. Coming to Vandana. Vandana, AI is everywhere, and how can this discussion go beyond AI? So bringing the AI angle into this. What do you think? Can AI surveillance tools and centralized third party reporting improve workplace harassment prevention, or do they pose any ethical risks? What's your take?
Okay. I'm a great advocate of human rights. Okay. And recently I one of I got to know that people have started using cameras which are voice enabled also at workplaces, and I find it extremely, that's barging privacy for me. But then if you look it from a awareness perspective, okay, while I'm totally against somebody recording my, what I'm saying, my conversation, I'm feeling 24 by 7 monitored, okay, that itself gives me a headache. Like the thought itself is so scary. Okay, like I have to be always on my, I alert as to I can't speak anything which is negative, okay, or anything which can be offensive to someone. Okay, but then when it comes to enabling AI, now Khushbu and Purnima mentioned an important point about awareness training and making it a shared responsibility. Now I know this is going to be a humongous task as to how you make your employees understand this, but then Slack is a official platform, Teams is an official platform, Google Meet is whatever is your official chatting platform wherein you are sharing chat between teams, is not is earlier was managed monitored by the IT team, and that's a reality. Okay. Even if you don't know, let me just tell you, it was monitored. However, enabling an AI assistant like Rose, what Telegram has, I don't know how many of you have used Telegram, but let me tell you, this Rose is an office assistant kind of an AI application which gets integrated with the software, and it has been trained to capture offensive statements, words, and they will stop you. They will give you a warning that if you repeat it, we will block you immediately or we'll report it. And that will be personal to you.
Hmm. Sure.
So conducting those awareness training, and Khushbu comes from a SaaS-based organization and she knows tech more than me. Okay, but then yeah, I am a tech lover myself. So yes, we can spread awareness. We can utilize AI to raise such alarms. You know, now specifically when there is no opportunity to go for consignment, which was earlier given an option to the as per the POSH Act, that has been taken away. So now the only way is investigation. So I think having an AI enabled, help support, which can highlight such things to a person, can give a warning, like one warning before you are taken
Yeah.
to a different case and
Yeah.
investigation. But
Yeah.
yes, sensitization is going to be a big task.
No, I
So
think,
I think for
sorry.
it, I think AI should be enabled. I think awareness is the key forward. And yes, everybody will have to understand this is culture. And in order to enable culture, we will have to take certain steps. That's it.
Great points there. I think companies are in fact using AI-driven video surveillance and other sorts of chat boxes. But I think what is more important there is to ensure transparency. Employees must be
Correct.
aware
Aware.
of the monitoring and reporting mechanisms, and it should be strictly used to monitor only this aspect that for which it is intended.
Intended.
And like any other field, I think it is important to combine AI with human oversight to ensure fair investigations. But I'd love to know, Purnima, your view on this.
I mean, Vandana made really good pointers on AI. I totally agree with that. But Shivani, I feel that AI must be used as a tool and it should stop there. Because I've done exclusive research on how AI works and how it can be implemented. And end of the day, at least for now, it is just a machine that can think. So there is a lack of privacy if you kind of do that first, because respecting privacy in workplace is something I really believe, where people should be allowed to kind of think and deliver in their style. I mean, what I feel that AI could do is, one is privacy violation, and second would be false positives probably. If if you make it very AI enabled without human intervention, I think because of the history or because of the input the AI has received, it might give false alarms, which could be a challenge, because POSH by itself is a very sensitive case, right? It can make or
Yeah,
break anyone. If there is a false accusation,
yeah, yeah.
it's hardly I mean, an employee kind of stays back after that, even if it is a false accusation, because they take to the heart. It's a very personal stuff. So considering the
Yes.
sensitivity around this, I feel AI using it completely and relying on it completely could be a challenge. But definitely we can use it as a tool to kind of give us triggers, because with the volume of employees we would have, it is very difficult for us to kind of humanly manage all of these things. So using
Absolutely.
AI as a tool, I'm completely for it.
Absolutely. I think balanced approach is the key. Like all of us agree on that part. Balance is the key here. And in fact, there is one very interesting aspect to this, especially for companies, like Uber, Airbnb, which have a lot of gig workers. Now, for them, it is very, very difficult, to actually have so many people talking to a human or, somebody from the company. So they actually use AI a lot. And what this does is this also takes away the fear from the person who's actually complaining, because he's not talking to anybody from the company. It's a chatbot that he's talking to. So fear of retaliation is not there. So that's another perspective to this. But totally agree. These are ethical concerns. These are privacy related concerns. So like I said earlier, human oversight always along with AI, always in
Always.
everything that we do.
Always. Correct.
Okay, great. I'm so far loving the conversation, and I'm sure our audience is also loving what we are, discussing about. But we as HR people, we always talk about different metrics. We talk about employee engagement scores. We talk about culture sensitivity scores. So, how about a POSH score for the companies? Khushbu, I'd like to pose this question to you. Could a POSH score for companies, which is something similar to ESG ratings, push organizations to improve compliance and culture? What's your take on this?
Sure. So I'm not sure, but for the sake of larger audience, let's give some light on what exactly we define as a POSH score. So I'm assuming it is a systematic and a designed approach to evaluate how well the organization complies the POSH Act 2013 and foster a safe workplace for a larger audience. I'm assuming that. Now, can that help us to improve the compliance and culture? The answer would be yes and no both. Also it depends on the nature of the organization, demographic, say what kind of geographical location we are into. All of that would be play a role into it. Such practices will set a benchmark for an industry to follow. We can see that as a one of the best practices with, being followed. Companies will make sure they adhere to say and maintain this strict compliance. This also encouraging the accountability both for the organization and the employees, that we need to follow, we need to maintain, say we need to remain vigilant on the quantitative and qualitative, both the aspect of the score. Challenges again, while maintaining, like we discussed earlier, because it is a score, subjectivity will be there, right? Defining and say interpreting between qualitative quantitative could be a challenge. It could mislead the interpretation. The focus could also shift to just maintaining the score from making sure the workplace safety or inclusive work environment. So yes, it could help if suppose the execution is very strong, I
Sure.
believe.
I think the last point said it all. Execution. That's what makes or breaks this. Vandana, what do you have to say? I know you must be very passionate about this question as well. What is your take?
I'm just wondering, all that our government has come up is, coming with, fines. Like if you don't follow, you pay 50,000 fine. If you don't follow for the second fine, then your registration is taken away. But then, yes, it's a very positive thought process. I don't know, like for the larger audience, I really don't know how we will implement and give a score to an organization, because anything which happens to be score will get commercialized. I do want to make it rewarding for the organization, but scoring, as Kushbu says, will get commercialized, will have subjectivity, will not give you the right picture. Like for the biggest time, the most fake thing is the top 10 colleges, top 10 companies. We know this is all, a lot of commercialization is involved in all of it. We really don't want, again, POSH to go become another part of commercialization.
Purnima, what's your take on this aspect? What Vandana says is that it has a probability of being commercialized. What is your take on it, on the POSH score?
I kind of totally agree to what Vandana is saying. See, for me, if you ask, right, POSH is not a policy anymore. It's an attitude of the organization. I mean, it's the culture. It's
Yeah.
every organization responsibility to provide a safe workplace, whether it's a physical safety or a psychological safety. You have to kind of make sure that you provide a safe environment to people. POSH is not like a checkbox anymore, right? I mean, you done your POSH compliance? Have you done this? I mean, I feel it will become more materialized once you put a score to it, and people might just do it for the heck of it. And also, they might also not bring up the cases out to light because they want to score high.
Mhm.
I mean, this could be a biggest challenge. They might try to
Correct.
keep it within themselves, and it will not serve the purpose, is what I feel. But if it is a huge organization, and if it's definitely helping organizations to kind of follow it, it will just be a trophy, another
Yeah.
certificate on the wall saying, okay, we are like GPTW, POSH score, and all of these things are here. So this is how. I mean, there are scores for healthy workplace also now. Are you giving the healthy food for employees? I mean, at least for that, employees are getting good food. I think these are all inherent. It goes without
Yeah.
saying. It's like you have an organization, you should build a safe culture towards it.
Yeah.
So this is
Yeah.
my take.
Again, a very strong perspective, very balanced perspective, I would say. While I agree that having a POSH score is would probably dilute the whole purpose of having the act, because then you'll be only working on the score, which might sort of compromise with the authenticity or with the real facts. But probably having POSH as one of the integral aspects of a culture survey might help. That is the only probably, as far as the scoring or having a score is concerned, that's probably the only thing that I would recommend, that it has to be a part of the culture survey. How safe do people feel? And I have seen it is a part of a lot of culture
Great
surveys.
Places to Work has
Yeah.
that.
And a lot of other organizations, even when we design their employee engagement surveys, one of
Hmm.
the organizations mandated this, that you must ask my employees, how do they feel coming? Do they feel safe sitting in
Safe.
my office and working? And I think that's a great thought to have. So coming back to the entire part on culture, I think once it is ingrained in the leadership, it is ingrained in the culture. I think it just flows very naturally, and probably a score then is not required. Moving on to the penultimate question, because we're running short on time. What if the POSH Act included repercussions for bystanders? We all know that, we all have dealt with POSH cases, so we all know that when there is POSH a case happening, usually people around the environment are aware of it, right? There are bystanders in that sense. So, my question, Khushbu, to you is, what if the POSH Act included repercussions for the bystanders who witness harassment but they remain silent? Would this encourage more proactive reporting? What's your take?
I'm unmute, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Uh, Again, a balanced approach. Okay. Now, uh, at one end, we are encouraging people to speak. We are encouraging our employees, as a no more silence is acceptable. That is a part of your culture. Okay, that is what you are doing by encouraging your bystanders. It means that you are making your say a passive bystander or a silent person to make sure they improvise and encourage them to speak up. Now, this has to be a legal structured mechanism, right? Who can speak? If there are, say, 10 people, only managers can speak or employees can also speak. So those kind of subjective questions needs to be outlined properly. What this will also have an impact on the culture, where sometime who should speak, how much they should speak, in what platform they should speak, all of that needs to be sensitized properly before we take that as an execution, take the execution. And when you are telling that, if bystanders are not talking, there are repercussions, right? In nutshell, including repercussions for bystanders would prevent harassment. Yes, we may say become proactive and vigilant toward the subject. Having said that, how much say impact we are okay to take on the work culture depends on that. So based on those two things, a balanced approach would help to decide.
Sure. Sure. Thank you. Thank you. Purnima, your thoughts?
It's a very complex question, Surani, if you ask me, right? I mean, who is a bystander? What do you mean by being silent? Um, is it if I feel uncomfortable, I will tell you, or if I see something happening, I should come and tell you? I mean, if I come and tell
Hmm.
someone, okay, she's being harassed or he's being harassed, they might come back saying, no, I'm fine.
Hmm.
So
True.
how do you kind
Yeah.
of do this? What is it's a very complex thing to practically
Yeah.
implement it in any organization, because one could be you're giving like unnecessary, I mean not unnecessary, I'm saying another authority to somebody else to come and complain about other two individuals who are there.
Hmm.
I think that could be one issue or a challenge that we might face, and enforcement difficulties will be there. And if are you saying that the victim will come and tell me saying, okay, there was a bystander or there's my colleague who knows about this, but she didn't report. So we
Hmm.
can't take action on her, right? I mean, she
Hmm.
also has freedom of speech. It will be
Yeah.
like it's a government right. It's the
Yeah.
national right.
Human
And she went,
rights.
yeah,
Yeah.
and she'll be like, I chose to remain silent. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't, I may, or she might just deny outrightly saying, I didn't think it was wrong. I
Yeah.
never felt it. So it's a very complex kind of thing to put it. Or once you start doing that, right, the work environment might turn hostile, I feel, because of the constant fear saying, okay, I will have to talk for them, so they will avoid being in
Yeah.
those kind of situations. One would be that. And yeah, I mean, and investigating this bystanders involvement in the case itself will become another investigation.
Yeah.
So that will again play the outcome of the entire case.
Yeah.
So there could be 5 people, and then you have to spend 5 hours talking to each of them to understand what was their involvement. So
Yeah.
it's a very complex
Yeah.
this one to implement is what I feel.
Yeah. See, in a normal investigation, also, you do tend to talk to people around, in that department.
Yes.
But I think mandating it, in fact, I have seen a case where the bystanders, actually, the person who was undergoing harassment, it wasn't really harassment, but, some incident happened. And she did not want to report it, but it was the bystanders who told her, you must report it. So this can actually, play back also. This can actually be misutilized as well, because if somebody wants to sort of settle scores with somebody else, they might as well, just say that, okay, why don't you report it? And it came out, it wasn't a harassment case. So it is definitely a double-edged sword. Vandana, quickly, your thoughts on this before we wrap up?
No, no to bystanders. Because bystander, again, freedom of speech, let them speak if they have a point. That's it. We can't reward them, we can't penalize them.
Yeah.
Correct.
Absolutely. Superb. Great. Great. So, as we wrap up this conversation, I know it's a topic that we can just continue, to
Continue on.
discuss, but in the interest of time, very quickly, closing thoughts by everyone. Purnima, starting with you, what steps can companies take to ensure that the POSH policies are truly inclusive and effective? Your closing thoughts on this topic.
Sure. I mean, I can't believe it's already an hour. It's been such an interesting conversation. So I think we covered it all in our conversation, Shivani. It's just, design the policy, have gender neutral mode of work, everything that is missing in the present policy, gig,
Yeah.
online, include it, have an inclusive training, multiple channels of reporting, safe reporting, basically, and sensitize the ICC. That's the very big, task for
Yeah.
everyone, saying how they need to be accepted and acknowledge everything. I think that is my closing thoughts.
Superb. Superb. Khushbu, your closing thoughts?
Sure. Three things only, right? Number one, inculcating POSH as a culture, not just a policy, making it as a shared responsibility, not just the HR task list. Number two, use of AI tools and technology. I'm a very traditional head at heart, even though I'm, say, driving the SaaS-based product company HR. But yes, use the technology. Having said that, you should know that you are using tools just for the administering. We cannot replace the human sentiment out of it. And
Hmm.
then making sure that you are not there just to punish people, right?
Right.
At the end of the day, we need to make sure that someone is acknowledging that they did a mistake. You give them the structured approach, and give them the progressive growth path. That's it, I can say.
Thank you. Thank you, Khushbu. Vandana, we close with you.
Okay. So the top thing, conduct awareness trainings, not repetitive, but come up with, you know, different style of interpretation, different methods to engage your team, not just classroom training method. It's boring, but you want to spread awareness, come up with, think about it, come up with gamification, come up with something that they can see on a daily basis. Okay, train your internal committee members because they are not trained. Investigation is a legal thing. You have the responsibility of a civil court. Please don't think it is just one day thing that you become legally aware and you can take investigation and you can take a decision for somebody's career.
Yeah.
Okay, last
Great.
and the very important thing, educate. And yes, leaders, not just the leadership, your people managers, because they are the first point of contact. If they are not sensitive in listening to what their employees are going through and whom to report, this will continue to bleed. That's it.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you, Vandana. I think all of us have discussed a lot on this topic, and this was one of the much needed discussions, because we all agree that while this act was enacted almost 12 years back, there is a significant change in the way workspaces have evolved. So definitely more amendments are required to the law, for sure. But I think from an organization point of view, there needs to be a movement beyond compliance to proactive prevention. education also, which it can be through regular trainings, which can be actually making a part of making safe workspaces is a part of our culture. I'd like to close on that note. Thank you very much, everyone. It was great speaking with all of you. I personally enjoyed this conversation a lot. I hope you all also had the same experience. Thank you very much for your time. And thank you to HRAI for inviting all of us on this very, very pertinent topic.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Shivani.
Thank you, Shivani. Thank you,
Thank you,
guys.
Shivani,
Bye.
for making it so engaging.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So, thank you for expertly guiding us through this enlightening session. Your perspective, insights, and deep understanding of the subject help us navigate the evolving challenges and opportunities in creating safer and more inclusive workplaces. Our sincere appreciation to Ms. Khushbu, Ms. Vandana, and Ms. Purnima for generously sharing their valuable perspectives. Work dynamics continue to shift with hybrid and remote models. Your discussion shed light on the importance of adapting policies to ensure comprehensive protection against harassment in all professional settings. We truly appreciate your time, expertise, and the meaningful perspectives that you have shared. For those eager to visit today's insights, the session recording is available on our YouTube link shared in the chat window. A special thanks to our event partners Geisha, NASCOM COE, Talgro, TLE, WICCI, LinkedIn Local, Ahmedabad, and India for their invaluable support in making this event a success. To learn more about these associations, please refer to the links provided in the chat window. We look forward to welcoming you to our next session on the topic Technological Advancements and the Future of Work on March 13, 2025. With that, we conclude today's webinar. Thank you for being a part of this journey. Wishing you health, positivity, and success until we meet again. Take care and farewell for now. Thank you. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Vandana.
Bye.
Thank you,
Bye.
Thank you.
Shivani.
Bye
Thank you.
bye.
Thank you, Purnima.